So in this video I am going to tell you about selection structure types. So before that, first subscribe my channel. So first statement is if statement in C++. Basically this statement is a conditional statement. It basically depends upon your condition. It whole depends upon condition, because when your condition true, then inner statements becomes executed. Here is an example. For example, if x less than 10, print yes. It depends upon condition. If your condition is true, then statement print yes is executed. Otherwise this statement will not executed. Basically this statement whole depends upon if condition. Depends upon condition. If your condition becomes false, then inner statements will not execute it. Here is the flowchart of if statement. That basically shows test expression is true. Yani if your inner condition is true, then inner statements will execute it. But on the other side, if your condition becomes false, then statements, inner statements will not execute it. If else statement, it basically depends upon condition also. So if your condition is true, then if statement will execute it. On the other side, if your condition becomes false, then this if part will not execute it. This part executed, else part. So it basically depends upon upper condition. If upper condition becomes true, then upper if statement will execute it. But if it becomes false, then inner else statement will execute it. So here is flowchart. Boolean expression, if expression is true, then body of if will execute it. But if expression becomes false, then this part will execute it. Here is if else if statement in C++. So it's conditional controlling statement. If it is true, the statement associated with it executed. And if condition is true, this part will execute. But if condition becomes false, then else if ladder is bypassed, then this portion will not execute it. Here is its flowchart. If Boolean expression becomes true, then this part will execute it. But if becomes false, then body of else, in its mean else part will execute it if all your conditions becomes false. Nested if statement is basically a statement in which contains inner if statement. In its mean, if your this condition is true, then control goes towards the inner portion, and this condition also executed. But if your this condition becomes false, then this part will also not executed. It means it's whole depend on this condition. Here is its flowchart of nested if. If your this condition is true, then this part will executed. This body of if executed. If it becomes false, then nested if statement will also not execute it. Statement. Such statement is a multi-way branch statement. It provides an easy way to dispatch execution to different parts of code. It means if it whole depends upon condition. For example, if n is equal to 1, then case 1 will be executed. And break statement basically used for going outside the loop. If n is equal to 2, then case 2 will execute it. If value of n is neither 1 neither 2, then by default this code will execute it. Here is flowchart. Start switch number. If n is equal to 1, then this case executed. If n is equal to 2, then this part will execute it. If suppose we enter n is equal to 3, n is equal to 4, then neither these parts executed. By default other statement will execute it and program will terminate. So that's it from this video. If you like my video, please subscribe my channel. If you want to ask any questions, please ask in comment section. Thank you so much.